There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise around them becomes louder than the voice within them. A moment when you realize that waiting for support, applause, or validation has only delayed your growth. It's in that silence, when no one is watching, no one is clapping, and no one is standing beside you, that the true version of you begins to rise. You see, destiny was never designed to be a group project. Greatness is not achieved in crowds, it's carved in isolation. The path of purpose is narrow, and very few are willing to walk it. When you choose to do it alone, you're not rejecting people, you're responding to purpose. You're stepping into the arena of accountability, where the only voice that matters is the one that says, keep going. Solitude is the birthplace of strength because it removes the noise that weakens your conviction. When you are alone, you are forced to confront your own thoughts, your fears, and your limitations. Most people run from that silence because it exposes who they really are. But those who embrace it, those who choose to sit in that quiet space and wrestle with their weaknesses, discover a power that cannot be learned from others. In solitude, you stop performing for approval and start pursuing truth. You begin to understand what drives you, what breaks you, and what rebuilds you. Solitude becomes the mirror that shows your potential and your pain side by side, and it's in that tension that real growth happens. When there's no one around to motivate you, you become your own source of fire. You stop waiting for inspiration and start creating it. The absence of others forces you to develop inner discipline, the kind that doesn't depend on applause or recognition. Solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. It's the hidden training ground where mental endurance is formed. The mind, when isolated, becomes sharper because it has no distractions to lean on. Every thought, every emotion, every doubt stands before you, demanding to be conquered. And when you face those internal battles, you begin to master yourself. That mastery is the foundation of strength. Many avoid being alone because it feels uncomfortable, but discomfort is the birthplace of transformation. Strength doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in challenge, in resistance, in silence. Solitude strips away the false layers that life and society have placed upon you. It takes away the opinions, the comparisons, and the expectations that have clouded your vision. It leaves you with nothing but raw truth, the truth about your purpose, your calling, and your capacity. When you learn to stand firm in that truth, you become unshakable. In solitude, time slows down. You start hearing the whispers of your inner spirit, the voice that's been drowned out by the chaos of the world. That voice doesn't shout, it guides. It teaches you to listen to your intuition, to trust your process, and to rely on your own strength. You begin to see that every great achievement started in isolation. The builder sketches the blueprint alone, the thinker shapes ideas in silence, the warrior trains without an audience. Solitude gives you the space to prepare before the world takes notice. When you choose solitude intentionally, you take control of your growth. You no longer depend on motivation that fades or people who waver. You learn to draw power from stillness, from patience, from the quiet conviction that you are capable. Solitude builds endurance, and endurance becomes strength. It's where you learn that strength is not about how loud you roar, but how firmly you stand when the world is silent. Purpose requires separation from distractions because clarity cannot coexist with chaos. Every great vision demands focus, and focus is only born when you distance yourself from what dilutes your energy. The world is full of noise, opinions, entertainment, expectations, and endless comparisons, and each one pulls you further from the quiet center where your true calling speaks. Separation is not isolation, it's alignment. It is the act of choosing what deserves your attention and what does not. When you decide to pursue purpose, you must also decide to walk away from anything that competes with it. You cannot move forward while being pulled in every direction. Distractions are not always obvious. Sometimes, they come disguised as comfort, convenience, or companionship. They whisper that it's okay to slow down, to fit in, to wait until things feel easier. But purpose is urgent, it doesn't wait for ideal conditions. It calls for movement even when you feel misunderstood or alone. That's why separation becomes necessary. You cannot hear the voice of destiny in a crowd that speaks of doubt. You cannot see your vision clearly when your environment is filled with noise. Every distraction you remove becomes a door that opens to clarity. Every unnecessary connection you release makes room for focus. Separation doesn't mean you reject the world, it means you rise above it. It's the conscious act of stepping away from what drains your spirit so you can guard the energy required to build your future. You start realizing that not everything that looks good is good for you. Some relationships are rooted in comfort, not growth. Some habits keep you busy but not productive. Some conversations fill time but not purpose. And when you have a vision burning inside you, these small distractions become costly. They steal time, energy, and focus, the very ingredients of progress. To separate for purpose is to choose clarity over confusion, direction over distraction. It's when you stop asking for permission to chase what you were created to do. The world often rewards distraction, it celebrates popularity over purpose, activity over productivity. But those who live by purpose understand the difference between movement and progress. They know that to move with meaning, they must first stand apart. That's why the path to destiny often feels lonely, because not everyone will understand the discipline required to protect it. When you begin to separate yourself, you discover that silence sharpens your focus. Your thoughts become clearer, your goals become defined, and your actions become intentional. You stop wasting energy trying to please everyone and start channeling it into building something that matters. Purpose thrives in order, not chaos. It requires a heart that is settled and a mind that is clear. And the only way to achieve that clarity is to separate from anything that competes with your destiny, because distractions may look harmless, but they are the silent thieves of greatness. Discipline grows stronger in silence because silence is the soil where consistency takes root. When there is no applause, no recognition, and no encouragement, your actions reveal whether your commitment is real or dependent on attention. Discipline is forged in those quiet hours when no one is watching, when you have every reason to stop, yet you continue. In the silence, there are no distractions to mask your weakness and no audience to validate your effort. There is only you, your goal, and the voice inside that demands perseverance. That is where true strength is born, not in the noise of achievement, but in the stillness of daily dedication. The world teaches people to chase results, but discipline teaches you to value process. It's not about how fast you move, but how long you're willing to stay consistent. Silence becomes your teacher because it strips away excuses and forces you to face the truth about your habits. When you remove the noise, you confront the reasons behind your actions. You realize whether you're driven by passion or pressure, by purpose or pride. And in that realization, discipline becomes deeper, stronger, and unshakable. The silence is not empty, it's filled with lessons. Every moment of stillness tests your ability to show up without motivation, to push through without reward. That's where endurance is built. The silent moments are the ones that test your heart, your patience, and your commitment to your vision. You start to learn that discipline is not just about doing something repeatedly, it's about doing it correctly, consistently, even when it feels meaningless. That repetitive effort, performed in the quiet, creates mastery. It's in the silence that you refine your craft, build resilience, and strengthen your mental foundation. Discipline in silence also teaches humility. It removes the desire to be seen and replaces it with the hunger to improve. You stop chasing recognition and start chasing excellence. You stop needing others to remind you of your worth and start proving it through consistent action. That is the transformation that happens in silence. It humbles the ego and sharpens the mind. Discipline becomes your identity, not your performance. You no longer act out of emotion, you act out of principle. When the world is loud, it's easy to get distracted by noise that promises quick results. But in silence, there is no shortcut, no easy route. There is only effort. That effort, repeated day after day, becomes a force stronger than motivation. Motivation fades when the noise stops, but discipline keeps moving because it's not fueled by feelings, it's powered by purpose. The silence you once feared becomes your ally because it reminds you that greatness is built when no one is looking. The quiet hours shape the kind of person who can handle pressure when it comes, who can stay steady when success arrives, because they have already mastered the hardest lesson, to stay consistent even when the world is silent. Approval is the enemy of authenticity because the need to be accepted by others slowly kills the voice within you. When you live for approval, you become a reflection of what people expect instead of an expression of who you truly are. Every time you adjust yourself to please others, you trade a piece of your identity for temporary validation. It feels good to be liked, but that feeling fades quickly, leaving you empty and disconnected from your purpose. True authenticity demands that you stand firm in who you are, even when others don't understand it. It's a lonely path at first because people are often uncomfortable with those who don't conform, but that discomfort is the price of freedom. Approval teaches dependency, but authenticity teaches power. When you seek approval, your confidence rises and falls with the opinions of others. You perform instead of create, you react instead of lead, and you follow trends instead of truth. You start to measure your worth through feedback rather than conviction. But when you release the need to be approved, you take back control of your direction. You stop asking for permission to live boldly. You begin to build a foundation rooted in purpose, not popularity. That shift is where real strength begins, when you no longer need others to confirm what you already know inside. Authenticity requires courage because it exposes the real you. It strips away the masks you wear to fit in, the behaviors you adapt to be accepted. It demands honesty with yourself first, and that honesty can be uncomfortable. It forces you to confront what you've hidden behind approval, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of being different. But once you face those fears, they lose their power. You begin to realize that the people meant for your journey will recognize your truth without you needing to perform for it. You attract what aligns with who you truly are, not who you pretend to be. When you live authentically, your purpose gains direction. Your actions begin to flow naturally because they are not filtered through the expectations of others. You make decisions based on vision, not validation. This doesn't mean you become arrogant or isolated. It means you develop an inner confidence that no external opinion can shake. Approval can be taken away, but authenticity cannot be touched. It grows stronger with every challenge, every rejection, every misunderstanding. The more you walk in your truth, the clearer your path becomes, because authenticity attracts clarity. The pursuit of approval weakens your spirit, but the pursuit of authenticity strengthens it. Every time you choose to stay true to yourself, you train your soul to stand firm in integrity. Approval may open doors for a season, but authenticity builds kingdoms that last. When you stop chasing acceptance, you find peace. When you stop performing, you find purpose. And in that stillness of knowing who you are, you become unbreakable. Isolation refines your focus and vision because it removes the clutter that clouds your mind and allows you to see your purpose with precision. When you are surrounded by constant noise, opinions, and expectations, it becomes difficult to hear your own thoughts. Isolation provides the clarity that crowds cannot. It separates you from distractions and forces you to concentrate on what truly matters. The moments you spend alone are not moments of weakness, they are moments of sharpening. Just as a blade must be taken away from the noise of the forge to be shaped, your vision must be separated from the noise of the world to be defined. In isolation, you begin to see what others miss because you are no longer blinded by the expectations of society. When you are isolated, your thoughts begin to align with your purpose. You start to recognize patterns in your behavior, understand your strengths, and identify what needs to change. It's in that quiet space that ideas form, creativity flows, and your mission becomes clear. Isolation becomes your workshop, the place where you build, rebuild, and strengthen the foundation of who you are. It's not about escaping people, it's about connecting deeper with your inner vision. The world moves fast, and in its pace, it can easily pull you away from your original path. Isolation slows time down and gives you the perspective to realign your direction. Focus is not something that happens by accident, it's something that is cultivated through discipline and silence. When you isolate yourself, you begin to train your mind to stay centered on what matters most. You stop chasing everything that glitters and start committing to what actually grows. You stop reacting to the noise of others and start responding to the whisper of your own destiny. That's why some of the greatest breakthroughs in life come from seasons of solitude. The moments you spend apart from the world are the moments you prepare to change it. Isolation also builds resilience. It teaches you how to depend on your own inner strength, how to think independently, and how to create without applause. It strips away the illusion that you need external validation to move forward. In those moments of being alone, you find out what drives you when no one is watching. You discover that vision doesn't need agreement, it only needs commitment. Many people lose their focus because they are surrounded by too many voices pulling them in different directions. But in isolation, those voices fade, and only one remains, the voice of clarity. Isolation is not punishment, it's preparation. It is the process through which your vision becomes mature and your focus becomes unshakable. The solitude that feels heavy at first eventually becomes sacred, because it's the place where you meet your purpose face to face. The silence of isolation refines your vision like fire refines gold. It burns away confusion, distractions, and fear until all that's left is the pure essence of who you are and what you were created to do. Greatness begins when you stop waiting for support, because the moment you stop depending on others to believe in you is the moment you start believing in yourself. Many dreams never come alive because people keep waiting for the right person to notice, the right moment to arrive, or the right opportunity to appear. But greatness has never been about timing or help, it's about movement. It's about deciding to move forward even when no one claps, no one understands, and no one stands beside you. The longer you wait for support, the weaker your will becomes, because your energy shifts from building to hoping. The truth is, no one is coming to rescue you, you are the rescue. Your purpose does not require a crowd, it requires courage. When you stop waiting for others, you take full ownership of your destiny. You no longer depend on someone else's encouragement to act. You stop asking for validation to do what you already know you were meant to do. That independence is where true strength begins. Support feels good, but it's often unreliable. People's opinions change with seasons, but conviction remains constant. Greatness demands that you lead yourself even when you feel unsure, that you take the first step before anyone sees the vision. Those who achieve extraordinary things are not the ones who had the most help, they are the ones who kept going without it. Support is a gift, not a guarantee. Waiting for it only delays progress. The greatest mistake is believing that you need approval before you begin. Every legend, every innovator, every world changer started with resistance, not recognition. They faced disbelief, criticism, and loneliness, yet they moved anyway. That is the secret: movement in silence, faith without confirmation, progress without permission. When you no longer crave support, your power multiplies because you realize that what you need is already inside you. Doing it without support forces you to grow in ways comfort never could. You learn resourcefulness, patience, resilience, and vision. You stop complaining about what you lack and start building with what you have. That mindset transforms you into someone unstoppable. Greatness doesn't grow in ease, it grows in resistance. It's shaped in the moments when you're doubted, ignored, or underestimated. Each time you choose to move forward alone, you're proving to yourself that your dream is stronger than your doubt. You begin to understand that the purpose inside you is worth more than the opinions around you. When you stop waiting for support, you give yourself permission to act boldly. You stop needing someone to open a door for you because you learn how to build your own. You stop searching for encouragement and start becoming it. The world respects those who move without applause because their actions speak louder than their words. Greatness begins when you take responsibility for your vision, when you stop looking for hands to hold and start using your own to build.